What's going on, people? It's Mr. back again with another DoreOnTour podcast. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, a bit of a crazy day today. At last, I think everyone's been crazy with transfers, especially this guy down here. Every bloody single day, he's been asking for transfers, and he's got a little bit of smirk on his face as well because I think he's happy as well, and he's even eating, and that's even making him more happy as well. But yeah. How's everyone today? It's just a crazy day. Before you do start, please do hit the like button if you can, subscribe to the channel if you can, and comment below, people, how you feeling about the two possible new signings that could be heading to Nottingham Forest. Right, let's get to the panel. First of all, the man himself, Des. How are you, Des?
I'm good. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to another game to pick the bones out of, and of course, hopefully, we get one or two over the line to appease the doommongers.
Doommongers. Next door, he's not been on for the channel for live because I banned him just for no reason. The man himself, Dylan. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm all right. Thank you for re-signing me.
Well, officially, I haven't signed a contract yet, Dylan, because there's still a little bit loose ends to confirm. But
do you know what? I've had offers from multiple sources. You know what I mean? So I'm weighing up my options here.
Yeah, before we do,
he's just building it up for the big signings.
The big signing. Dylan, before we do shit, show everyone you're snug, whatever you want to call it. People in the comments, he's been like, in the comments, has anyone got one of these snugs? Because he's telling me to get one. Are they worth it? When it's cold, you can buy one. And I said to him,
you're gonna make me put it on, aren't you?
Yeah, just put it on. That's it. Put it on. You can wear it for this. People in the comments, has anyone got one of these? Because I'm tempted to wear one for away day. So yeah. If you want,
Open offers.
That was 5p. Oh, days. Right. So first of all, like I said, there's been quite a lot been going on with transfers. Let me give the comments first before we do start. How you doing, Paul? Hi. It's been an all day with the wife, granddaughter. What's going on today with our club? There's been a lot going on, Paul. A lot going on. As well, Alfie, how you doing? You Reds. How you doing, Kev? Evening, all you Reds. Hope you're well. Mohammed says, hi, finally got a sign in the door. Hopefully, you can get some more signs through the door. You know, he's having a minute at Forest. We'll talk through him. How you doing, Eve? Hello, Mr. Des. I hope you're well. I'm putting a new picture. I have drawn David Johnson, which I've drawn of him for him to keep. Yes. Make sure you make sure he's got that. What hairstyle have you on, Eve? He's got afro, short, blonde. Des and Glenn would remember the days David Johnson wearing. How many haircuts did he have? You might be watching. From
loads.
They had loads here. Blonde, afro, camos, bold. If you're watching, just tell me what you have. I'm very on the bus on this one. Right, first of all, let's get through the first one. Anthony Elanga. I'm going to go through the man himself. Fabrizio announced it through his page. So his port Anthony Elanga to Forest will be coming to the end of the week. Permanent transfer has been agreed. Fee closer to 50 million to Manchester United. Green light is also for the player. Here we go. So if you do follow people, he always confirms transfers to Forest. Go and follow him as well. Make sure everyone follows Des and Dylan on Twitter as well. But let me ask you, Des. I know you might not ask this player, but he could be our first time for Nottingham Forest. What do you know about this player?
Not a massive deal, in all honesty. Seen him a couple of times for Man United. The game that sticks out for me as much as anything is that Leeds game. I think he got hit on the head with a coin or a bottle or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he scored right at the end of the game where I remember him sweeping one in the bottom corner. So in terms of seeing him week in, week out, of course, if you look at his stats, he hasn't played week in, week out. He's a bit of a prospect. He's been at United since he was 12. You know, looking up before I came on tonight at where he's been. Swedish international as well now. So he plays international football. He looks like he's going to be somebody that's decent. They fed him in towards the back end of the season before last. Didn't really kick on last season, but then he was up against the likes of Sancho, Rashford, you know, and then when they play a tighter midfield against those central midfield players. So it's always going to be tough for him to get in there. I guess the important thing is we're looking at somebody of that calibre. I don't know how it would turn out, but it's one of them where we have to realise where we are as well, and perhaps coming from the Championship last season, it's not quite the Jesse Lingard type of statement, but it's one of those where we're looking at Manchester United players with potential. That can only be positive. It doesn't always work out. Those of us of a certain age will remember Michael Stewart.
Michael Stewart, yeah.
He played out of his skin on his pre-season debut at Rushden and Diamonds, I remember. And everyone thought he was going to be a superstar. And it doesn't always work out like that. So I think the word we tend to use a lot is cautiously optimistic. You know, it's a guy I think's got good potential. Been at United a long time. He'll have a good education. He's played through the levels in the national team. And it's the kind of player Forest have been looking for, isn't it? Someone who's almost like a wide player, but can play as that third striker, can push out a bit further wide. And I think down the left-hand side where he might operate, if Forest do sign him, a lot more than he perhaps has at Man United, it could be sort of filling a gap. Last season, there was a lot of criticism about putting central strikers out there, players like Chris Wood and Tyro, who perhaps weren't as suited to it. When these top teams play with a three up front and play with wide men, they tend to be speed merchant. And I think the one thing I have seen from him is he has got pace, and he perhaps will push teams back and push him behind. So whilst I've not scouted him to the nth degree, I've not looked at any videos on YouTube.
Everyone does, don't they? Everyone goes on YouTube and does it all the time. I haven't yet, but yeah, Karen does.
The attributes are there, aren't they, George? You know, the pace, the guy who's naturally a bit more of a wider player, but can almost join in with the striker play. And then, like I say, you look at Forest and what Cooper tried to do with certain players last season. Square pegs in round holes, as a famous, infamous manager used to say. But now, if we sign that kind of player, it kind of fits the mould. We all get a bit giddy about signings and who we're going to sign next and how we're going to push on. But I think this is a realistic one, isn't it? It's one of those that could go both ways. But as I've harped on about last week when I was on the show, all last season, the guy's got a bit of Premier League experience. He's got a bit of know-how around English football. And that's one thing last season, apart from one or two where we really struggled. We struggled with guys who knew the league, who knew how to play against teams. And it appears this guy's got a bit of know-how. He's played for Man U since he was 12. Been there 9 years. So it just says that he's got something about him. And he's a young player, isn't he? Final point, he's a young player who Cooper could perhaps work with, perhaps likes, perhaps seen a lot, playing, coaching around youth team football, and somebody you might fancy to develop and make a better player. And that's been Forest's kind of skill in the last couple of years, isn't it? Or Cooper's skill mainly, is getting players and making them much more valuable and better than when they came.
Before we get to this question, like I said, I think Forest will link with Hudson Odoi. Yeah, I think that's you. Would you prefer Hudson Odoi? I would prefer Hudson Odoi, but signing would be a great price for him. What do you think about that, Des? Are you happy with that, or would you prefer Hudson Odoi?
I'm not sure. And again, do you know what? Hudson Odoi burst onto the scene, didn't he? But again, I wouldn't be disappointed with that kind of signing because I don't think he's too dissimilar to what we're looking at here. A lot of potential, played at a big club, perhaps had to go. In his case, as opposed to Elanga, who's had to sit tight, he's gone away and had to sort of try his hand elsewhere. So I think, I don't know. I was kind of 50-50 on Hudson Odoi because he could be one of those where he burst on the scene and it never quite worked out. I remember he had a good game against Forest once.
Yeah, 2-0. 2-0, wasn't it?
Yes, but that was against lower league opposition at the time. That's where we were. So yeah. I'm not too sure who I'd kind of plump for out the two. I see potential in them both. And if Forest choose to sign one or the other or either or both, you go with it and see how they progress. And that's kind of my stance on most transfers, though. I don't lose my head over them because I've seen too many I've been excited about fail and too many I've not been that asked about succeed. We look at the right back spot over the last 2 seasons. We got Serge Aurier. Never expected very much. Oh God, it's a panic buy. Brilliant season. We got Spence the year before. Nobody knew anything about Spence. Let's be honest. He played for Middlesbrough, and look what he did. And again, it boils down to that thing, doesn't it? Either of these players, Hudson-Odoi or Elanga, could be players where Cooper thinks, I can get a bit more from these. These guys can give this team a little bit more than what we've got. And again, we're not looking at top end of the table where these guys have to perform in week in, week out, be match winners. Like we spoke about with some of Forest match winners, Brennan Johnson, Morgan Gibbs-White. You probably only have to win 5 or 6 games, if that, in a season, to be a little bit of a superstar in the environment you're in. And again, what they might be struggling for at the moment because they're young is a little bit of consistency. So if we can draw that out of them, either one of them, again, you asked me the question, Hudson-Odoi or Elanga. I'm not just saying it. I'll probably plug for Elanga because he's been in the Premier League. He's stuck around that Manchester United squad. I see Hudson-Odoi probably just not quite fulfilling his potential.
People in comments, I say, what do you think? I said, I've just told Des about it. We are getting Anthony Elanga, Man United, but would you prefer Hudson-Odoi? Put in the comments below, who would you prefer? Dylan, like I said, it's been social media, especially Twitter, Forest fans getting so frustrated, blah, blah, blah. Last season, we brought in 30 players. People moaned about it. We brought no players. People moan about it. Are you happy, Dylan? We started to get the ball rolling with these players.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you logically think about what we're doing at the minute, is last season we had to buy a team. That's what we had to do. We had to go out and buy experience and young players and do what we had to do. Now I think we're kind of like we're buying 30 players, spending 120 odd million. It was always going to be a different transfer window. It was never going to be the same. They weren't going to go out and spend another 100 million because of this FFP we've got. Do you know what I mean? No one knows. Everyone's speculating. Are we close to it? Are we what? Do you know what I mean? Only the people behind the scenes know. And by the sound of it, we've got good people running it. So for me, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I've got a bit frustrated because you think to yourself, oh, come on, let's get something going. But if you look around the market, hardly anything's moving.
Yeah.
It's been so quiet.
It's not just Forest. Everyone's made about Forest, not brought players. There's about quite a lot of Premier League teams have not brought anyone in. So, yeah, come on, Dylan.
Yeah, and it's just like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I've got frustrated. And you know I have. Do you know what I mean? At times. All the time.
Group chat goes mad. It's every day. Dylan texts us every morning. And we brought everyone.
No, that's the one. That's the one. We'll probably get onto that in a bit.
We'll get that later on.
That's the one deal I want going through. But it was always going to. If you realistically look at it and think to it, do you know what I mean? Signing 30 players, spending 130 million, you was always going to have a knock-on effect for this season. Do you know what I mean? So, but now they're probably looking at quality over quantity, picking the right players who they want to bring in. Do you know what I mean? Taking the time, because while we've all been waiting for transfers, if you look at it, they've been working behind the scenes, bringing new people in, sorting the women's side of the game out. Do you know what I mean? Ross Williams seems to be.
He's been given lots of flack. This Ross Wilson, so much flack.
Yeah, but what? But is it Wilson? Sorry, I said Williams.
Wilson.
Yeah, why though? I don't understand why he's getting the flack. Do you know what I mean? Because unless you're in and amongst it, you don't know. Do you know what I mean? So obviously they're trying to stabilise other things in the club first. Do you know what I mean? Because now we're a Premier League club. Do you know what I mean? The infrastructure. You think about it. We went from the playoffs, and everything was a mad dash. a mad dash to get the ground ready, to get everything ready, to get these players in. We had to get a squad together, everything. Now it's you've got a spine of a team, so they don't have to rush so much. There's certain positions that you need to sort out, like the goalkeeping and other positions. So I think now just seeing a bit of movement, we'll probably when the first domino goes down, I think the rest will come in. But if people are still thinking that we're going to sign loads of players, then they've got another thing coming, because obviously you've got to keep in with FFP, but you don't want to disrupt what you've already got.
Are you happy with Elanga signing? Because like I said, the thing what we lacked, we always said about Brennan Johnson, Dennis, who else is a winger? Scarpa, who didn't much play last season at the end. Who else is a winger? Like Gibbs White was more of a number 10. But yeah, are you happy then we brought in at least a proper winger?
Well, yeah, it's another chink to our armour, isn't it? It's just another someone else. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, like this. I don't know much about him. I've had to do my research. I even said to you earlier, who is it? But luckily, I've got a couple of Man United friends, so I text them and say, "Oh, what's he like?" And what he's really good. He's young. He's really energetic. He runs. I've actually watched a couple of YouTube videos.
Oh,
the only thing
you one of them.
No, because I just wanted to get an insight into what he was.
I saw one. What game was it? He scored against. Was it Atletico Madrid?
Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I've seen that one, but and Brentford. He scored against Brentford as well last season. That's the only goal he scored, I think. People in the chat, how many goals did he score last season? Was it one?
I'll tell you now. I've got his stats up.
He scored 2 in 3 games for Sweden last season.
But he scored. No, you know what? He scored for Man U 2 seasons ago. It wasn't last season because they lost. I think they lost 5-0 last season. But 2 seasons ago,
Last year, he played 16 matches, scored no goals, and he only got 1 assist. The year before that, he played 21 times. He got 2 goals. He got 2 goals.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and 2 assists.
What,
and then the season bit. Yeah. It says it. This is what it says. He played 16 times last year. The season before was 21 times, where he scored 2 goals, 2 assists. He's played in the Europa. He played in the Europa League last season, 5 times, no goals. He's played in the EFL Cup as well, 4 matches, 1 assist. So, well, do you know what I mean? He could be different. Like Des said, we're going with Cooper. Cooper brings out a different people differently. Do you know what I mean? He's young. He's rearing to go. It is a bit strange if you look at it, though, thinking how young he is. How comes Man United have never sent him out on loan to a championship club or something like that? Well, maybe he was too good for that. And do you know what I mean? But time will tell. Time will tell. Like you say, we don't know until he comes and he plays. He could absolutely bolt it. He could actually absolutely be amazing. Or it could go the other way. It's like Jesse Lingard last season. Everyone was like, Jesse Lingard, yes, we'll get him. That didn't work out. So,
people in the comments, what do you think? Like, I'm ask Des this question. Do you think he's a risk signing or not? Because we've looked at, we started getting signs now. We will talk about the other one in a minute. But Des, do you think he's a risk signing, or do you think Cooper knows what he's doing?
Every single signing is a risk, and we saw that last year. You know, you sign players from the Bundesliga, or you sign players from other leagues. It's a risk at the end of the day. Even if you sign players from the Premier League, you're not quite sure how things are going to work out. So, to some degree, yes, but you'd never sign a player if you sign a player with a risk. You know, if you sign a player for 100 million quid, you're taking a risk on spending too much money on them. You know, so yes, every single player is a risk to some degree. If you look at this one in the way you're putting it across, I know what you mean. To some degree, yes, but then so is Hudson-Odoi, isn't he? You know, apart from playing with really top players at Chelsea, he's not won more Chelsea. Elanga's playing around good players. He's played a handful of games. He's been integrated through the Man U system. You know, Dylan touched on there. He played games in the League Cup and the Europa League. That's how they develop players in these big clubs now. They don't go straight in and play against Arsenal or Man City in the Premier League. They play on a Thursday night. You know, they play the lower games. I remember, I've actually just remembered a goal that Elanga scored. One of them was against Brentford.
Yeah.
So they'll play in the ones that are all, you know, seem winnable at times. You know, to give them that confidence, to give them that boost to sort of crack on. So to some degree, yes, but it's, you know, we have to take risks, don't we? We're a team that finished 16th in the Premier League. So you sign players to try and make better what you've got. Again, I referred to the sort of difference between Emmanuel Dennis and Joe Lolly. Last week, I touched on this, and as much as I love Lolly, even though Dennis has not been great, and I've been one of his biggest critics, he's a step up from Lolly. You know, so players like we were dealing with a year or two ago, Elanga's on a different level already, isn't he? On a different footing. So we've got to get players who can do a job in the Premier League. One thing I would say, just touching on that point I made right at the end of my last sort of when I was talking last, was he's got Premier League experience, not massive amounts, not bags and bags full of it, but he's got some Premier League experience. He's played against teams like Brentford. He's played against teams like Leicester. You know, he's played against teams like Leeds. I touched on that game there where he played an integral part in that game. And those are the games what would be important for him to play for Forest in. You know, not probably not against Man United, Arsenal, Man City, because our strikers don't get a touch of the ball in reality, do they?
Yeah.
So it's how he performs in some of those games. And then when we look back, hopefully at Christmas, at Easter, at the end of the season, you go, this guy's made an impact. I think what we have to be careful and mindful of is not expecting too much. We expect it of our own. We've expected it of Brennan. Morgan Gibbs-White early in the season, taking a bit of flack. Nobody can disagree he was the player of the season. He's the best player we've got by an absolute country mile. But people expect too much too soon, considering the position of the league we're in. So, like I say, if this guy come in and won us 4 or 5 games, that's the difference between staying up and going down, and we can then really judge how much of a risk it was.
People, let's see, if you're new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. If there's any topics that you want to talk to me, Des, and Dylan about, put it in the comment section as well. If you want to do any super chats to support my channel, please do. And if you want to be a member as well, support my channel, please, as well. Any more thoughts about this new player, Dylan?
I just want to touch on about what Des was saying, like about a risk, and do we think anything could be a risk? Like Des said, if you think about it, Morgan Gibbs-White, when we signed him last season, we signed him for big money. Yes, we knew what he could do in the Championship, but it was always going to be, that was a kind of a risk in itself, him stepping into the Premier League and doing what he did. Do you know what I mean? So that was one of them where always got a massive price tag. Is he going to? And he did. Towards the end of the season, he started flying. So, and look what he's done this summer. So, like Des said, any signing can be a risk. Do you know what I mean? You could, like, we could go out and spend. We could chucking it out. You could go and sign Harry Kane. Say he could come to Forest and absolutely flop. Don't see it happening, but no. But I'm just saying. I'm just trying to use that as kind of thing, of just. But do you know what I mean? Let's just go with it. Trust them.
I'm going through the comments. There's quite a lot. What I want to see. This is one Ghost of John Joe Bob. Yeah, that burgers from Man City never played a senior game. West Ham took a risk. We was linked with him, and I said in the chat, he's not had a Premier League experience, not having Championship experience. On 21. That is a bigger risk for me, massive risk to the one we are getting. So was it a risk for West Ham? Is it 14 million? I think West Ham are paying for him. Man City know how to get big money for these players. This is from Paul. All signs is a risk. Des just beat me to it. I think everyone does it. What's this was? This is from Jem. How many of these were coming off the bench though? I think he come off the bench though. Jem, Marlow. I don't know. Might be. You never know. This is from Paul. How you doing, Paul? Got to be honest, I was beginning to think that players didn't want to come for us. It seems everyone was linked with us somewhere else. This was like Dylan. This is like Dylan every morning. Like,
I was Henderson. Henderson. That's all I was. I'm not talking about.
People in the chat. Dylan every single morning will moan, "Have we signed someone yet? This was Dylan."
No, I never. No,
yes, you did.
No.
Yes, you did.
I always said Henderson. That's all I was bothered about.
Yeah. If you Craig, put in the chat. What was Dylan like? What was Dylan like, Craig? He's I think he's young. Gives his time. He's coming to his cause. He wants to play games. He's positive and he wants to play games. He does. He wants to play games, and I think, like I say, it's a risk, but I think maybe Cooper can get the best out of him. And he's, like I said, he's a Swedish international as well. So that's another burst as well. And this is from Jordan. Power trades are great. Ismail Jacob Baller. Yeah, I think he's a left back, I think. Brilliant at the World Cup for second ago. I go 50-50, but definitely heard more good than bad. And Ola Excelsior Academy was brilliant. That's another player that we're gonna talk about in a minute now. But before we do talk about it, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and as well support my channel. Right, another player, and this is one. He's a free transfer. Look at this one. This again from John Percy. He always gets his ones right. Not Forest set to make former Torino wing back Ole and here this first summer signing. Ole is a free agent and is flying to Spain on the medical on Friday night. Last experience Premier League was Spurs at Fulham in 2021 season. I looked at this. I'm going to ask you, Des. I've done my research, as everyone else does, because Des and Dylan don't know much about him. He can play right back. He can play left back. Do we need to strength there? People in the comments, what do you think about this signing? Do we need to strength there? Des, what do you think about this one? This came out of the blue, innit? Because no one knew who was linked with this player till today.
Yeah, I think answering your initial question there, I think we definitely need to strengthen left back, don't we?
Yeah.
There's question marks over it. Loddy's left. Toffolo's got that cloud hanging over him right now. And Omar Richards is not played for a season, so you don't quite know how he's going to be. Hopefully, he becomes the player we thought we'd signed and answers all those questions. But and this guy might be looked on as a reserve for him. We don't quite know which way they're looking at. He could be the first team player for him, and Richard sort of get himself back and get up to first team standard, and hopefully, like I say, be that player was. So not quite sure. Can't remember him. I looked at his stats. Played for Chelsea. Played in all the England levels up to under 18. Under 20 even, and
20, yeah.
Played 17 games for Nigeria now, so another international. Went on loan to Hull, spent a season in the Championship, 44 games.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He went to Torino from there for 9. He went on loan initially and played. Looking at the numbers of games, it looks like he played a full season in Torino. And what I read on Wikipedia, that they then activated a transfer clause of £9 million.
Oh, okay.
What appears to have happened since then is his games at Torino have got less. For the first 2 seasons he was there, his games got less and less. Perhaps falling out of favour, perhaps not quite living up to the potential. And then he went to Fulham. And it looks like from his stats again, he had a strong season at Fulham because Torino took him back and then he went there.
Yeah.
Next 2 seasons, his games dropped off slightly again. And I think he ended up playing 21 games last season, which is still a fair amount. When you look at someone like Nico Williams, you wouldn't say he's a bad player. He's probably picked up as many games with 1 or 2 injuries and 1 or 2 sort of games out through not being selected. So it's not the worst record in the world. But what I kind of read from that door was I wonder if he's a player more suited to the Premier League. I wonder if Italian football doesn't necessarily suit him. He's grew up at Chelsea, like I say, he played for England. And I just wonder if when he comes to England, when he played at Hull for 44 games, albeit in the Championship, when he came back on loan from Torino to Fulham, he looked like he had a good time. I did read something, and I kind of remember it now. He won goal of the month for a goal against West Brom for Fulham. He banged on it.
I think I've seen that goal.
And that might have sort of heightened his profile and things like that. But I think without knowing the guy, without knowing exactly what Forest intentions are around that left back spot, it's a versatile wing back. He might be seen as cover for Omar. You know, he might be seen as somebody who can really challenge and compete for a place. But it just appeared from what I read and what I looked at that it might be suited to the Italian game. Might not be suited. You know, the slow build up.
That Remo.
It was suited.
Oh, Desmond's favourite player.
Oh, don't get him going, Dylan. Don't get him going. He was on the orange team.
Who are we to say, you know, with a player like this who we don't know naff all about? You know, I'd imagine Steve Cooper does because of his experience around youth team football. At the same time, Steve Cooper was at England. This guy was a couple of years older than the group Steve Cooper managed. So he wouldn't know what's going on. He's obviously big mates with Southgate and they'll all work together to some degree. So I imagine he kind of knows the player. And again, perhaps someone with potential. And you're talking about risk with Anthony Elanga at 15 million. This guy's a free. You know, last season, we took that risk on Serge Aurier, didn't we? And it paid off. Not every signing like that is going to pay off. I totally accept that. But there's no point losing our heads about it or getting too excited about it because we simply don't know. It's a guy we're going to have to perhaps see in one or two friendlies, see how it's going. Because at the moment, we're playing kids in that position. You know, yeah. as well as Powden, I think it was, wasn't it? In the we're playing kids and we need to sort of plug that hole. So it's a position that's been identified by the club, by Steve Cooper, by whoever, you know, and they've gone out and signed someone off the back of it. And whilst we're all stressing, and you know, there is a little bit of concern around these signings and what's happening at the club. Let's not pretend I'm not quite on Dylan levels of hysteria, but
Henderson, that's it.
Big head man.
But there is a little bit of sort of concern and what's happening. But if they're plugging gaps, you know, I spoke there about Elanga. We've been crying out for that player, that striker kind of player to play wide because the players we were putting there, Wood, Tyro, even Morgan Gibbs-White, we tried to drift him out there in certain games, you know, to play off that left-hand side. And it never worked for us. So if we're plugging that left-hand side with Elanga and then the fullback, which obviously we need someone, you know, because we can't go with what we've got, then they are actually doing due diligence, aren't they, in what they're doing? And it shows that there is a little bit of a plan. Whatever the plan is, however high they're setting the bar and expectations and however much they want to spend money, they're identifying the positions that need sorting out.
I'm going for the comments as well. And this is a good one from Jordan. Let's say we were talking about wingers, like we've got so many left backs, right backs. And this one's talking about lost respect for Omar Richards. No chance of him and the biomedical team were aware of his leg situation. No chance if he has a good season or forgotten. Let me ask you, Dylan, about this Omar Richards, and I'll get to Dad later on about it. He's not played preseason yet games. What do you think he could get? This could be a season, or do you think Forest might just get another left back? People in the comments, what do you think as well? Do you think Omar Richards will get a chance? Because everyone knows what his situation is with his leg and that. But do you think Forest might give him another chance or not?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll get a good chance. I'm not being funny. You don't play for Bayern Munich and you're not that good. All right, he's had a problem with his leg. Whatever. That's above my pay grade. I ain't bothered. Do you know what I mean? It's done now, done and dusted. But he's what I've seen of videos of him in training. He looks sharp. He looks. Do you know what I mean? So until he gets on the pitch and he plays, we can't really comment. Do you know what I mean? Every club you play for, you can play differently. Do you know what I mean? With this new guy coming in as well, maybe he's. Do you know what I mean? They probably Cooper's looked at him and thought, yeah, but I wanted to have some competition. But like Des touched on it earlier, the Toffolo's got some stuff hanging over his head. We don't know what's happening with that.
I forgot about that as well.
Do you know what I mean? So we don't. So do you know what I mean? Obviously, someone's seen something in him, and like we've said, I can't even say it now. Due diligence.
Due diligence. I know how to say it, people. I feel so great.
Right. Well, so do you know what I mean? Obviously, they are doing it. Do you know what I mean? Yes, he's on a free. Obviously, they still got to pay his wages and stuff. So do you know what I mean? You don't look at. They've got to look in that area. Everyone wanted Loddy, and he was going to cost us what 20 million. And obviously, they decided not to go that way and spend that kind of money for other reasons and that. But yeah, it could. Omar, I think I've got a feeling Omar's going to do well.
People in the comments, what do you think? Do you think we didn't see him at all last season because of his leg? So people, what do you think? Do you think he should give it a second chance, or do you think Forest should get a decent left back as well? Right. People in the comments, if you've got any questions for me or Des about Forest upcoming games, I know Forest play tomorrow. It's live on YouTube. I know it's live on Lavati's channel. YouTube channel. So if you do want to watch the game tomorrow, you either pay for it or you go on Lavati's YouTube channel and watch it for free. Have a choice. Right. People, we mentioned about Dean Henderson, and it has wind up Dylan so much. People in the comments, are you frustrated about the Dean Henderson thing? We all are, but I think we'll get him. Just when? Because if you look at it, he knows the club inside out. He knows what Steve Cooper wants to do with him. But I think he needs game time. Let me get you first, Des, before we get Moni Dillon on it. People in the comments, what do you think about Dean Henderson? What do you think, Des?
It's all gone a bit bizarre with Dean Henderson, isn't it? I think when we finished the season, we was all 100% convinced that this guy was coming. This guy would be the first signing. It'd be the starting point that we could build the team from going forward. You know, perhaps add one or two, maybe a defender, maybe a left back, maybe a midfielder, maybe another striker. You know, all these positions are being looked at, and we expected the goalkeeper one to be tied up very, very quickly and very soon. What they've done since is let Jordan Smith go. Of course, he didn't feature heavily, but we've got one senior goalkeeper now who I'd imagine is injured. Is he NSC? Because
I think no. Don't forget Horvath. You've got Horvath as well.
You've got Horvath as well. No, I don't think he's injured. There's people in the comments. I don't know. Is he injured? Yes or no? He was training with Man U, but I don't think he's injured.
Who are we on about? Is he on about
Hennessy? I'm on about
Hennessy.
It's a bit strange that he hasn't featured in the friendly.
Oh, yes. He's got thigh injury.
Okay.
So
we've got one senior goalkeeper who's got thigh injury, so it makes it even more that little bit bizarre. I think I saw a comment in there that he's bought a pad somewhere. I heard the same rumor. You know, I heard he's.
I think everyone's heard it.
We all saw the way he got behind the team last season and how much he got involved in it. The Arsenal game when he was sat on the bench, travelling down to Palace on the last game of the season, all these kind of things. You know, we love that because he fell in love with the club, didn't he? Like most people tend to do when they come to join Forest. So we'd have really expected it. The bizarre thing for me now is that they're talking about loan deals. What's that all about?
People in the comments, I think it's ridiculous. People, I don't know but people in the comments, what do you think, Des? Sorry, Des.
Well, I will say, through the sort of bit of content I create, you know, I know some guys around Sheffield United, some big Sheffield United fans. as soon as the season finished, they got in touch with me and went, "Are you signing Henderson? Because we want him." You know,
shout out to Johnny. You know about Johnny?
Johnny and Richard.
Yeah, shout out to Johnny.
They absolutely adore him. They think he's the best thing since sliced bread. Obviously, we do as well to some degree, but they thought they was in with a chance, and I was like, no chance, because he's coming to Forest every day of the week. I still believe he will. I still believe that it's a negotiation thing and perhaps a way of driving the fee down. You know, if you talk about loans, they might go, oh, they're not prepared to pay the money. Can we get 5 million off it? It might be hard bargaining on Forest's part. So I'd expect him there, but I would have really, really liked to see him in and settled a bit sooner. Again, been pretty pleased with Shelby from what I've seen. Looks a decent prospect, big unit, can play it out, can do all those things. But if we had Henderson, Hennessy, and Shelby, you know, I'll be a lot more confident of the plan, because I think that the whole Henderson thing is what's rocking people at the moment. What's getting under people's skin and making them feel like there's a problem at Forest. They may well be, they might not be. But
this one.
If this one got sorted and it gets sorted quickly, as well as Elanga and one or two others coming in, I think everybody will sort of breathe a sigh of relief and think, yeah, we're back on track. We're getting to the right place. We've urged caution. All of us have said that the transfer window is pretty slow at the minute. There's not much going on. And this is what the transfer window does. This is why it causes so much drama, and like they do these big things on Sky Sports News. Is before the transfer window, you just went and signed a player. Now it's almost like the team can hold on for a fee right until the last day. You know, and it overlaps the season. For me, the transfer window should shut at the start of August. You know, so you've got your players in, and you know where you are, but it drags on and on and on. And Man U might be saying 25 million, Forest might be saying 15 million. You know, and we all know at some point maybe they come together in the middle. But it was like the Morgan Gibbs White one, wasn't it? It went games for Wolves, and we all knew he was coming. You know, or some of us might have. Some of us might want a few.
This one.
But it's the same thing, and I think, like the Morgan Gibbs White one, when it gets sorted, everyone thinks, "Wow, we're onto something now. Let's get the season going. Let's go with what we got. Give it a good shot and see where we end up."
Right, time for ranty Asto. Tell everyone, why are you so upset about the Henderson thing? Go on, tell everyone. Because
I said this on the group.
He's been moaning and moaning every morning. Oh, have we signed Henderson yet? No, Dylan. Now tell everyone, why are you stressing? There's no need to stress.
I'm not stressing. I'm not stressing. It's just
doesn't stress. People are like, if there's anyone on the channel watching this, does Dylan stress?
You know what's the worst thing you can say when you're not stressing?
That's like that thing where you say, "I'm not being funny," but yeah, you are being funny. That's why you're starting. That's why you're starting with saying that. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, let's get started. Right. For some reason, I don't know why. I always get this one transfer. I don't know why. Every season, it was like a few years ago. It was Colback. Everyone knows. I know. I like Colback and stuff. I was like literally always, why are we not signing? Blah blah blah. Anyway, with Henderson, I don't know. It's just like one of them bizarre transfers. We all knew, like Des said, he was there towards the end of the season cheering on Forest. He was walking around in crutches. He could have gone back to Carrington, done all his rehab. He didn't. He wanted to stay here. Supposedly, he's bought a house down here, or he's in the process, or stuff like that. He's already said he doesn't want to play second fiddle to anyone. So him going back to United, I could see before they were talking about this. What's the new goalkeeper called? Who they just signed? Oh,
Aina.
Yeah, I could see in a way. I was thinking to myself, "Oh, is he staying at?" Cheers, Craig. What is it? It threw me off now. Yeah, I can see. I looked at it this way: when he stayed at United, when De Gea wasn't going to sign the contract, maybe he thought to himself, "Do you know what? He's not going to sign a contract. So if I stay here for a bit longer, show the manager what I can do, he might think I'm good enough to be number one." But then obviously they went for this keeper. You know all day long he's going to be number one. United's manager's already said. I've seen it in an interview. Basically, he's just told him he's number one. So Henderson is not going to play second fiddle to anyone. Regarding why I stress about it is the fact of surely Forest knew back when we survived in the Premier League. Surely I don't get it. I don't get it because obviously I don't work in it. But do they not pick the phone up or do they not talk to each other and go, right, you know we want to buy this player. You want to sell this player. How much? What are you looking for? Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. It's bizarre how the loan deal's coming up. Why are they offering a loan?
No, it's a bit weird.
But then, just thinking about it now, maybe spending say 20 million on Henderson, but then going to spend 15 million on this new lad from Man United. That's 35 million shelled out straight away. So you've got to think of FFP. So maybe they're thinking to United, look, we'll pay you 15 million for this kid, send him to us. We'll have Henderson to the end of the season, but then we'll buy him at the end. Do you know what I mean? Because to stretch the money out, maybe that's happening. Or so like that. I believe he does come eventually, but do you know what I mean? Is he going to push it? Can he push it? How far can he push the deal through? Do you know what I mean? Because it's all right saying you want to leave, but if United want the money, I've got a feeling that you can have the likes of Sheffield United coming in and go, all right, you want 20 million? Here's 20 million. You can have it. We'll have it. Do you know what I mean? That's the only fair. For some reason, I don't know why this one transfer, because he's a good goalkeeper. I just still think there's still he's playing from the back in his distribution of the ball. To me, he's still a bit sketchy for me, and long range shots and that, where he was getting caught out last season. But for some reason,
that's what I'm a bit worried about. To be fair,
but I think the problem is with him. If he's got a settled home and he knows he's going to be number one, maybe that'll. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he'll sort all that out. Maybe, do you know what I mean? Because he's been. I think someone said in the last 7 years he's been on 7 loans. So I'm led to believe.
Who's that? Henderson?
Yeah. In the last 8 years, he's been on 7 loans.
Yeah, he went on loan to Sheffield. Sheffield was second club.
He went. Did he do 2 years at Sheffield United?
2 years at Sheffield United. But where did he go before that? He went on to a League 1 team, League 2 team. Before that, I don't know. People in the comments, where did he go? I don't know. I can't remember where he went. His first loan spell. I can't remember. People in the comments. Someone in the comments might know. This loan bit. Let's talk about this loan. Do you think Forest should get on loan? Because if you look at it right, if we get on loan and yet again you can't play against Man U, it's going to be that factor again. So what's your? Should Forest just do it straight away or just again loan?
I think Dylan made a point there, and it's a really good point because it's something touched on sort of at some points last season. You know, transfers as they used to be aren't as straightforward. You know, you used to kind of know you'd sign a player for £2 million. You know, it was your player. This is how it is. Or you'd loan a player and you wouldn't hear about transfer fees. It's complicated business now. And like Dylan said, there is rumours of FFP affecting the club and what they spent last year. And it could be a case that Forest want to loan him for so much money, 5 million, say, I guess, and then think next season we'll sign him for 10, 15, 20 million and pay you the money then. But they might be thinking of their own situation of how to balance the books. So again, football's a complex business, and there's too many people out there still bleating on about this is how it is, and we can't pay this much, and we can't do that much. I'm as big a fuddy-duddy with things like that as anybody, but we've all got to get with the times in all this and understand that It's not always as straightforward as it seems. I would expect at some point Forest to sign him, whether it's a wrangle over the transfer fee itself. You could always think that Man United know Henderson wants to come to Forest. Man United know Forest want Henderson. But Man United have got there's no God-given right that they have to sell their player to Forest. We've seen it with Jimmy Carter this season. There's no given right that they have to sell us one of their players. Like Dylan said, if Sheffield United come in and went 25 million, we absolutely love him. Man, you were going to think, well, there's the best offer on the table, aren't they? So they might be holding on in some sort of sense like that. I think as much as anything, we've kind of speculated around the loan, Sheffield United, what he wants, FFP. I think the biggest factor in all of it is Manchester United's goalkeeping situation.
Yeah.
And they have proven that they've got a bit more nous about them than Forest have. Because Forest are now without a number one goalkeeper. Manchester United have not clinched this guy fully yet, have they? They said
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah. He's on his way. He's in America now.
That was done. That was done yesterday.
There you go. But they might have been waiting. There you go. They might have been waiting to exactly this point to say, okay, we can this move, because their priority. And this is what a lot of Forest fans don't understand in whatever subject we talk about. Manchester United's priority is Manchester United. It's not whether Forest have got a number one goalkeeper. So I'd imagine with the way things are picking up again in the media, John Percy, Fabrizio Romano, that this one will probably get over the line in the next couple of days, and we can all breathe a sigh of fresh air, and Dylan can stop stressing and concentrate on driving.
Please, God, from Forest, just sign it, please. Please.
Just for me.
Please do.
I think there's lots to it. I kind of speculated a little bit there, but this is the way football is these days, isn't it? This is how bizarre it is. People get transferred to a team and then get sent out on loan to another team and all sorts of things. And we can't quite get our head around it, but it's the way it works.
Do you know what? With me stressing, everyone talking about it and everything, do you know what? Henderson might even be sitting with Man United now. And he's already been told, you're going to Forest. But we need to get this goalkeeping situation over, because they could have done the medical yesterday and found something wrong with his knee. That deal goes away. Do you know what I mean? So they might have said, look, you are going to Forest, but we need to take you to the States just in case. Do you know what I mean? To get this deal over the line. They probably could have spoke to Forest and said, look, we're going to take him over to, all right, you take him over there. We'll get back and we'll have him. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of if, buts and maybes. But
so people, I mean, we're up to date with everything. Like with Elanga, Henderson, and I up to date with everything. If people have got like another 5 minutes, if anything's told me, Des or Dylan, please do. There's another player that we've not really spoke about. This is from Gordon. Really must be Lewis O'Brien. What's your thoughts? Des, Lewis O'Brien, come back to Forest, yes or no?
Look, the guy was a fair enough player. What we've seen of him, he looked nippy, he looked sort of up for it. Is his quality quite there? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. And I've not seen him every day in training. I've seen his handful of appearances for Forest, which, from what we've seen, is not quite enough. I like the idea of signing that kind of combative, sort of in-your-face type of player, but the Premier League's a different beast, isn't it? It took someone like Chiarte coming in to really show that muscle and intent around the midfield and kicking people about, because they're athletes. Those midfielders in the Premier League are out-and-out athletes, and I'm not sure someone of his stature quite fits up to the Premier League. It used to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, especially Lewis O'Brien 20 years ago would have been an absolute superstar, because he was the kind of player that would go around getting himself busy and winning the ball and knocking it away. But from what I've seen of him at Forest, I see when he was in the side, apart from the game against Fulham where he came on and he made a real difference at at the City ground. He got us back into the game with a goal, and he kind of ran at them a bit more. But I think that was more Forest intent as much as his own intent, because there was getting beat. He didn't do too much, did he? There was that nightmare night at Leicester when the subs were made at half time, and yes, Leicester had won the game already, so it's hard for players to come in the second.
And now they're down. And now they're down, Des. And now they're down, Des.
Okay.
And now Leicester are down.
Yes. But it was easier for players to come on at half time at that score and then it'd be 0-0 because Leicester took the foot off it. So you can't really blame him, but he was one of the players in that first half and he never really come back from that, did he? So I'm not sure, you know. I wouldn't be adverse to it if he came back and he was fighting for a place. But I think in reality, if we're all being realistic, I think he's moved on in his head. I think Forest have moved on from Lewis O'Brien. So I think it's a case of getting him out to a Blackburn, you know, a Sheffield United, a Leeds, you know, one of them type of clubs where you know he can have an impact. And just looking at what we're going to work with rather than looking back in this case. I just think it was a nice idea, him and Toffolo, but they didn't quite come off, did they?
No. Another one, we've not spoken about this one as well. Shout out to Jimmy Martin, who put this story on Twitter. Wally's free to go. I've seen him. What do you think, guys? Dylan, what do you think of him? Wally, free to go.
I don't know what to make of it, really. Now, supposedly Nicate's out for 6 weeks. So,
yeah, might change
the plan. You know what I mean? Might change the plan, but do you know what I mean? I remember rightly, I'm sure we're quite well equipped in the centre-back area at the minute.
Well, McKenna, Cook, Lee.
McKenna, Worrell, Bellicone, who else?
Bellicone, Felipe. Yeah,
Felipe, that's 4. Then you've got Bolle, 5.
Bolle. You know what? I don't know if people in the chat, have you saw Members So? I've not even seen him. I've not seen him at all.
No, we sold him.
Members So?
Sure we sold him. Yeah, Members So. I'm sure we sold him to the French team. I'm sure he went. Yeah, I'm sure he went. If I remember right, I'm sure we sold him in the end.
I can't remember. People in the chat, I don't know. Has he gone? Yes or no? I don't.
Was it the same team that Samba was playing for?
No.
I can remember. I'm sure it was red and black.
Went on
loan.
Went on loan. I don't know if people in comments did he come back? I don't know. Well, yeah. I personally think now, if you don't know, Nicate's out for 6 weeks now with a sprained wrist. I think
dislocated elbow.
Dislocated elbow. So maybe now Force has to rethink.
Yeah, but supposedly he's out for 6 weeks. You know what I mean? He could be back quicker than that. Do you know what I mean? They never know the full timeline.
Right, people. I think that's up to date with everything. Ma'am Des, thank you for coming on. Des, do a plug on your channel.
Yeah, I've not actually done it for a few weeks. I've been a bit
slacking as always.
Seriously, it takes a bit of effort to talk as candidly and open as I tried to do about the way I'm feeling all the time, and I just felt I needed a couple of weeks out. But I will be back. Do daily, give it a subscribe, look out for it popping up. It's different to football. Do give us a follow on Twitter. I'm concentrating some of my effort into my football content, which hopefully
follow everyone on Twitter. Follow everyone on Twitter
in the season, and a little bit of just my thoughts before and after the game. I'm not trying to be the latest journalist on the conveyor belt. just started something last season that someone asked me to do in terms of giving me a few quid to do it. Really shocked that they did, and then that opportunity got taken away. I wanted to carry it on, so just enjoy it. Part of my match day now and part of talking to the guys. So if you can get behind that on Twitter, give it a few likes. Leave me some positive, negative, or
negative people. Go on there. Go on. Follow Des and follow Dylan on Twitter. If people want to follow me, the links is on my Twitter account, so make sure you follow them as well. Before we do go, as you know, last season I did a where do you think Forest will finish. So if you want to take part on where Forest will finish this season, message me on Twitter. I will make a little announcement next week about what to do, what to say, and all that. So watch out for that next week. Don't forget tomorrow. Play. What is it? 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Forest play tomorrow. So watch out for that.
Is it 10 o'clock in the morning?
In the morning. 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'm at work.
Yeah, so watch out for that. You can either buy it on Forest or you can watch it at Levante's YouTube channel. That is free. But yeah, it's up to you what you want to do. If Forest do sign his players in Elanga, Aina, I will have each fan from like Fulham, Man United fans coming on the channel as well. So watch out for that as well. But yeah, before we do go, please do a massive favour for me before you leave. Please do hit the like button, subscribe to my channel as well. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. And yeah, Des, before you do you cheeky bugger, what did you see how old I was the other day?
I don't know how old you are, though, but
people, it's my birthday in 2 weeks' time. I'm 39 years old. Dylan's birthday is August the 31st, isn't it? 30th.
30th.
30th. Dylan's August.
Yeah, I'm 20. I'm 22 this year.
22 this year. I'm 18. And
Stone.
And Des about 80 with his looks. Sorry, Kay.
How can I even be the oldest person on this team?
People.
Do you know what? Do you know what, Des? Do you know what? I think Ben's got the most grey hair than both of us.
Listen, man, I'm good looking. That's all I am. I'm good looking. That's all that matters. Dylan's just a hater. He's just a hater. That's all that matters. Dylan's just a hater.
Oh yeah, by the way, don't forget, like, subscribe, be a member, because you've got to pay for my hair transplant. I want help. I need help for this hair transplant.
Me too. Well, people, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you please hit like.
Apparently, some guy said I've had one, but I just had a haircut.
As well, before we go, it's Eve's birthday next week on Thursday. Happy birthday for you, Eve. I won't be there tomorrow, Eve, because I'm at work. So make sure everyone as well, tomorrow at the navigation, 3 p.m. Go and join all the Forest fans there. Everyone's there. It's Amanda's defibrillators, and she's like to promote all that. So if you want to join all the Forest fans tomorrow, 3 o'clock at the navigation. So please get there. It should be fun. Right. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you know, and I'll see you soon. Peace and love. Up the Forest.